Welcome to the Craig Mostyn Group 15-Minute Learning, IT training designed for the Craig Mostyn Group by Times. This is our second course in the Excel series. This one is going to look at the formulas SumIf, CountIf and Sumproduct. We're also going to look at using data validation to create a drop-down menu. All of the things that we talk about in this course rely on the learnings from the Excel Series 1 course, which taught us how to lay out and prepare our data. And here we have the function SumIf. So we have columns and rows of data, the A column for the year, the B column for the product, the C column for the cost. And we want to analyze this data by saying we only want to add the cost for any given year. So the simple SumIf formula to do that is highlighted here. And that's saying take the value in column C and add it, providing the value in column A equals 2013. That's the result of that formula there. Add any value for 2013. Similarly, exactly the same front end of the formula. We've just changed the if criteria to 2011 and we get that result. And again, leave the front end of the formula as it is, change it to 2010 and there's the result. So that's a very simple SumIf. If a criteria meets a certain value, then add. This one, slightly more complicated, but still fairly straightforward. Does exactly the same as we saw earlier. Looks at column C and adds a value if column A equals 2013, but also only if column B, the product, equals fish. And there's the result for that. You can see this one here is the only occurrence of that criteria. And so very, very powerful formula can be used in many, many ways for you to analyze a set of data extremely quickly and have multiple versions of it that you can just copy and paste and change very quickly to get different results. Here we have a formula called CountIfs. Now this works in a very similar fashion to SumIfs. The actual syntax of the arguments are very similar or exactly the same. The only difference is instead of adding up all the values, it counts the occurrences. So this formula here, this one's a bit larger so you can see it. CountIf, the column A is 2013. So there's three occurrences of 2013 in column A. There's 2 occurrences of 2011. And there's 2 occurrences of 2010. And as we did in the SumIfs example, we now have 2 criteria. So count if the year is 2013 and if the product is fish, How many of those? The answer is 1. So almost identical formula that provides a count instead of a sum. CountIfs. Now moving on to a new formula. This one is called Sumproduct. So you can see we've got our data arranged in columns A, B, C and D. And again, it's extremely important that our data is laid out clean. We don't have merged fields, merged cells. We don't have subtotals. We don't have gaps and so on. So we keep our data in a nice clean format. And then we're going to do some work on it over here. So the Sumproduct formula that you can see here, highlighted in the text box. So Sumproduct column A, so if the company equals super M from the company column A, and also from column B, if the region equals East, and the third criteria here from column C, also the product equals beef. So if the 3 of those criteria are met, super M, region East, product B, then it will add the values in column D. So not unlike what we saw earlier in CountIfs and SumIfs, just a bit more powerful the way it can deal with the array of data. So you can see in this formula here, the result gives us the region is East and the total sales for the East for the company Super M. And in this formula here, we get the region East, the product beef, and the company Super M, which is the same as that formula there. Now what we've done slightly different this time, if you look at the formula, we are referencing these fields here to give us our criteria. So we've used data validation to create a drop-down menu for us to select the criteria rather than having to keep changing the formulas. So you can see here, this is G5, and you can see there, if it equals G5, then select it. In this one, I5, so if column A equals the value in I5, which is super M, cell I5, and also the value in C, in H5 from column C, so it's H5. So how have we done this? Let's choose the first field there, G5, so that's the cell that we're working on. We're referencing that in the formula. Go to the data menu and look at data validation. So in the data validation criteria, we have chosen a list, and we've simply typed in the list separated by commas. So I know that the region is north, south, east or west, and I've simply typed in the data. Now we could have a row or a column of data elsewhere in this sheet or in a different sheet, that held that information, and then we would just reference the cells in this source field here. But on this occasion, it was very simple just to type in north, south, east and west. Bearing in mind, if you spelt one of these incorrectly, so the spelling of east, for instance, here was different to the spelling here, then your formula wouldn't work. So that's G5. H5, where we're looking at the product. Look at data validation again. It's a list. And there's the products: beef, pork, fish, lamb or chicken. And that gives us our drop-down menu. And finally there, the company in I5. Look at our data validation, chosen list, and that's the companies we've got: Super M, 712, Super Butcher and Meat Shed. So that allows us to make changes on the fly without altering the information in the formula. So if I change this now to north, you see we've got no sales at all in the north region for Super M. If I change Super M to 712, still no sales. Super Butcher, suddenly we see we've got $1,500 in the north, but nothing for beef. Change the product. Pork, nothing changes. Try the east. Suddenly we've got 160,000 total sales for Super Butcher in the east, but nothing for pork. Try Super M. The Super M had $200,000 sales in the east for pork and $550,000 sales in the east, total sales. So then we've got a really useful combination using the Sumproduct formula, but putting the criteria in via a list in data validation allows us to have a dashboard style menu selection of the information that we're trying to find. Extremely useful, extremely quick. And there you see Sumproduct with data validation drop-down menus. Thank you for completing the course. Please remember to complete the quick questionnaire for this course. This will help you to provide us with information about other courses you might like to see or any other feedback you may have about the course. We will also have a few questions in there to check your understanding so that we can ensure that the right information is getting to you in these courses. Thank you very much.